Hopefully it's coming back. Okay, and apparently I'm going to have to plug in my computer. That's great. The battery lasts about 10 minutes. All right. I'm not sure where I'm going to plug it in, but... All right, the last part of this talks about something called lower cost to market. Hang on. Looking for a plug. All right. Lower cost to market is something that's a little bit different. It's used in some different type circumstances. Okay, that's weird. Not sure why it showed my screen there, but there we go. So lower cost to market or net realizable value is used in some kind of like extreme circumstances. For example, if something can be easily replaced because something identical has come out, or something at a lower cost, or because it's outdamaged or outdated. So the best example of something like this is technology. What happens when the iPhone XS comes out, or the last year, more specifically last year was a bigger deal for them, but the iPhone X. What happened to the other iPhones?
They get outdated.
They get outdated. So this summer, you could do an iPhone 8, and almost every place that had an iPhone 8 had a buy one, get one free. Why were they doing that? To get rid of their inventory. Because the only company that knows exactly when Apple is going to release their new phone is who? Apple. And what does Apple do with their inventory before they release a new phone? They get rid of it. All right, so the new companies have an idea. Everybody kind of has an idea when Apple's going to release it, sometime in the fall. So they start doing a buy one, get one free, because the value of the 8 goes down. Now, it didn't go down as drastically as some people thought it was going to, but the 6 and the 7, the 6 went down. The 5 is free, right? Because the 10S came out, but the 10S didn't have as big a bang, I think, as some of them thought it might. So they have to, it becomes easily outdated. You cannot carry an item on your balance sheet for inventory at a price that you know you can no longer get, because that is considered overstating your financials. If you're carrying a whole bunch of phones on your balance sheet at $600, when you know you cannot get $600, you can only get $400, and you have thousands and thousands of phones at $200 a phone, that's overstating your financials. All right. So we do something called lower cost to market. All right. So when the value falls below its recorded cost, it's written down to what we now call the market value. So here's an example. Now they're using clothing, and clothing does have the same effect. All right, you got to think about when the clothing stores and stuff buy clothes, they buy them in huge bulk. So if the large bulk falls below what they can sell it at, they have to write that down. So, for example, this one has vintage jeans. Now the jeans cost them $20 a piece. All right, I'm gonna have to separate you two. All right. The vintage jeans cost $20. They're now at $25. You never write an item up. All right? Costs can go up. You don't change the value on the books. You only change them when they go down. And you only change them when they permanently go down. All right? So leather coats are $165. They're now $150. So that's a permanent write down. So it's $15 a coat. Notice they have 1,000 coats. So that's a $15,000 write down. So when they go and do the write down, they take it directly out of inventory and they reduce cost of goods sold. Now think about what that change in cost of goods sold is going to do. If you're reducing cost of goods sold and you're not having any effect on net income, what's going to change? What's that doing to your gross profit? It's taking it down. But there's nothing for your gross profits making anything go up, so therefore you're having a big reduction in gross profit with no income. So that is not a very positive thing to be happening, is it? I was looking in the book for an example, but I think they took it out. That's kind of a bummer.
Does
Because
that happen with a lot of companies? Because usually when you go like look for clothes or something, there's always markdowns and everything.
right, now clothing has markdowns every year, right? They're trying to get the stuff out. So yes, they do. Now some of it's seasonal and some of it's considered there, but some clothing is marked up so much in price, they only have to mark it down when it goes below the actual cost that they paid. So that's something you got to keep in mind. So when they write things down, it's probably only when it actually gets to that bottom line clearance price that they actually have to write things down.
So when you like go to Kohl's, it's like on there, it's like 30% off.
That's not writing anything down.
It's just like they just make you think you're getting a good deal, or is it just
Right. Yeah. That's why you should never buy clothing unless it's on sale. I mean, you really shouldn't. I tell my husband all the time because when he does go shopping, I swear he doesn't get anything on sale. Tuesday's like the worst day to go shopping because the sales over the weekend bleed into Monday, and sales for the next week start on Wednesday, sometimes Thursday. Tuesday's like the only day that things are not on sale. But you should never get anything unless it's on sale for clothing because there's always a sale. There's always a 15 to 30% off something going on. So you should always get something on sale because the price of clothes are marked up that much. Now, go to Ross, exactly.
That's where I shop.
Well, and then it just depends on the store. I mean, there are some things like I was shopping. This was several years ago for a bathing suit, and I was at Nordstrom's, and then I went to they had nothing, and then I went to JCPenney's, and there were some of the exact same suits at Penny's that they had at Nordstrom's, and the prices were significantly different. But they're the exact same suit, exact same brand, exact same everything at Penny's and at Nordstrom's, but the prices were different. Now, what does Nordstrom's offer? I will tell you, Nordstrom's customer service and the people that were there were on me, trying to help me, asking for assistance. That does not get done at JCPenney's. So there's things you pay for at Nordstrom.
Wait, JCPenney's cheaper than Nordstrom?
Oh, God, Nordstrom's.
Yeah.
Do you know what Nordstrom's is?
Yeah, there's the outlet on Manchester.
Yeah, that wasn't at the outlet, but yeah. I do like the outlet, though. That isn't it. But yes, I was at the one. And the only thing that I have a weakness for is Nordstrom's shoe department. And I'm not even a shoe person, but I can't stop because they are so good. You walk out of there with a pair of shoes. I mean, you just can't tell them no.
Is the Nordstrom like, isn't there one the Louis store in like the Gucci, like Versace mall? Yeah, that one. Is that a Nordstrom?
There's a Saks there. There's a Saks. I don't know if there's a Nordstrom's there, but there's a Saks. I don't go to Frontenac very often.
I mean, I just go there just to feel like I own a lot. I do it to people lunch.
When my kids were little, I went there for the Santa Claus. There's a really good Santa Claus there. Yeah. All right, so here's one of the examples in the book. So think about this. Do you remember when Samsung's Galaxy Note 7 devices started exploding? Do you guys remember? It wasn't that you guys weren't that old. All right, so they had to have all those phones returned, right? They couldn't keep selling them. So the stock market opened on that Monday. Their stock plunged 7%. All right, and if that wasn't bad enough, they had to recall millions of washing machines also that were blowing up. Now, I actually didn't know about that part. I just knew about the phones. The total inventory write-down for obsolescence and scrapping of inventory was massive. It was $2.9 billion. $2.5 billion, basically. All right, it was at 11% of Samsung's income that year, between the phones and the washing machines. One would think, but yes. But then here's another one that's not in your book anymore. It's Lululemon. Okay, I'm sure you guys don't shop there, but they have in the old book it was in there because they had a huge write-down, and they also had their stock drop something like 35% after this write-down because they had to recall, I can't remember what, hundreds of thousands of yoga pants because they were see-through. And so they had all these yoga pants that were sold, and then they had to recall the ones that weren't sold, and it was something like $10 million worth of yoga pants that they had to recall. And they had to have a write-down.
Well, they probably got all their money back.
The people still shop there. Their stock went back up. But the write-down is a kill. It kills you. So basically, that's the example I just was talking to you about. So 2.9 trillion was Korea, and that converted to 2.5 US dollars. So yes, so those types of things are what cause these write-downs. And there is a lot more that when you just think about all the recalls that the car industry has. I mean, they happen all the time. It doesn't matter what kind of car you drive. It doesn't matter U.S. or foreign. There's always a recall coming back with something that's doing something, right? Every one of those, some of them are just nuisance. I mean, I had a minivan forever, and there was always a recall on the doors. And there wasn't anything that was going to hurt anybody. It's just they didn't shut right, or they didn't do this or that. You take it and they fix it, and I didn't think anything about it. But every one of those recalls, they had to do for free. So even a nuisance recall that took somebody's time, a half an hour, and the part, they have to write off. There's no money coming in the door. So those are all things that they have to do.
But like for a car, so when you take your car back, like you said, like when it's like a severe thing, like car, like
Right.
the Chevy Volt, was that like catching on fire?
It was catching on fire, yeah.
Like,
Small problem.
Can't you take that back to them and be like, I don't want this car anymore?
I don't know that you could do, for something like that, there might be like a bonus trade-in. You know what I mean? Like they might, I don't know what they would do. That was kind of a severe one. You know, your car catches on fire. This kind of might be an exclusion to the normal contract. But typically, no. When you have fault with the car, there is a lemon law. Okay, and all the dealers have it. I don't remember if it's 90 days or 180 days that they don't sell you lemon. Like basically, you go off the lot and your car catches on fire. I don't know how long those cars were out before that started happening. So they can't sell you a lemon of any kind. So it's supposed to protect the consumer. But I don't know where that hits. So, all right, inventory turnover, we talked a little bit about it. The whole thing we want with inventory turnover is we want to buy and sell, buy and sell. You do not want inventory sitting in your warehouse. Inventory sitting in your warehouse is collecting dust and taking up space, and you're paying for it to sit there. So the whole thing we want with inventory turnover is cost of goods divided by average inventory. The most common mistake on your ratios, everybody, is even when you write average, is you don't take an average. It's beginning plus ending divided by 2. Most of the time you guys give me ending. All right? You have no excuse not to get these right because we're letting you have a note card now. All right? So the journal entry, the ratios can be written on there. You don't have to memorize them. And then you divide it into 365 to get days.
So we're going to need
Yes. Yep. And then this just kind of shows you how the ratios look. Harley Davidson is almost 60 days. McDonald's is 6, which at first that kind of grossed me out. But I got thinking about it, and most of the food there is actually frozen. So if you think about the fact that it comes in frozen, it's not really fresh, and it's an average. So if you think about the fresh food, salads, the fruit, and then you take the fact that everything else is frozen, it's probably right. All right? I wouldn't want it to be any longer. And then American Eagle. Does anybody want to know why that is about 60 days? What happens well, it used to be 90 days, but they don't do that anymore in the clothing store. It's much quicker. What happens what happens in our world every 90 days? New seasons. Right, new seasons. But they do it much quicker if you notice. We don't get 90 days before they change out the seasons in the store. So it's about 60 days on clothing. That's kind of their turnover is what they're expecting. Okay, so we can get out of here. Like,